40 minutes, 40, 45 minutes, 40.
Give a motion to reconvene in open session at 6:52. Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Sines? Sines? Ludeman? Here. Newton?
Yes.
Solosky? Yes. Furtado?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Numbers, no, we have no option. Commissioner Salas, would you like to address the public concern?
Yes. I stumbled across a situation 2 weeks ago at the Park District. That, and a series of events that have basically led to me calling for a session. We were not able to address it in an executive session, and that's why I felt it was important. I wanted to tell you exactly what I knew. And these are strictly facts. I know many of you have had certain ideas about various members of the majority of the board. But I hope you listen closely to this. It was 2 weeks ago yesterday, I went to the Park District and I stopped in to say hello to Doug Booth. He seemed very upset, and that's my perception. And he pushed an invoice across the desk at me. It was an invoice for LED lighting, only it wasn't to write a check, it was to go by PayPal to Solis was the name, and it had an address. He had been asked by President Hurtado to put it on the Park District credit card. And he went to his executive director, and Mr. Booth did not feel comfortable. And of course, the executive director said, don't. And he did not. Somehow the maintenance department ended up paying or sending a payment to PayPal. And he was very upset about this. I told Reverend Booth, I told Doug Booth, I said, well, I'll go talk to Mr. Peck about this. And he said, no, don't do that. He was afraid for his job. So, number one, I would like to thank Doug Booth, and I hope you will too. I know a lot of people have bad feelings, but this guy's got a moral compass. And he was scared too, but he brought it to my attention. So I said, okay, I'll just see what I can find out. And I went to the executive director and I sat down and basically just chatted a little bit here and there about this and that. And then I said to him, I said, you know, I know you don't tell me everything that goes on in the Park District, but is there anything you want to tell me? And he said, well, Janet, we don't bother you with the day-to-day affairs. So I said, okay. And I left. What I did not tell Doug, but was something that I knew, was that President Hurtado had a large shipment of LED lighting this past summer going to China, which was canceled, and he had ended up with this shipment of LED lights. And one always likes to think the best of people that you know, and I'm very optimistic, and I like to, but there was deep concern on my part. I decided to think on it for a day or two, which I did because I really didn't know what to do. And you don't accuse anybody of anything. You know, you want to find out and make sure that everything's appropriate because you expect it to be appropriate. And that's what it should be. And on Thursday night, I called Mr. President Hurtado about a meeting on Martin Luther King Day with a lawyer that he and Larry, Commissioner Newton were going to go to. And both of them canceled. And so I said I would go, and that was fine. And he couldn't go because of a personal matter, and we hung up. Something felt right, and felt wrong. And the next day I called Garrett Peck, and I said, we need to talk. No. So after work, he met me at Starbucks to have some coffee, and I was going over this with him. I said, this is just not right. Something's not right here. I don't like this. And he called Pete Steines, who came over. You can thank Commissioner Steines for actually retrieving that money in transit. He happened to be, after the fact of the money going out, he found out in time enough to retrieve it electronically. Mr. Steines, Commissioner Steines wishes the same thing on that. He came over and to that meeting. So it was Commissioner Steines, myself, and Garrett Peck. At that meeting, I said, this is all inappropriate. I don't have any proof of anything, but I feel very uncomfortable with this. This is not right. I said, and the president shouldn't be asking anybody to make a payment anywhere. That the executive director should do it. Never should be anybody else. So basically I said, President Hurtado needs to resign. So Garrett Peck, I said, if he doesn't, I will. And Mr. Peck met with Mr. Hurtado, according to what Mr. Peck told me on Sunday. He called me that night and said that President Hurtado was going to resign. I was uncomfortable with this because I didn't know whether this would happen or not. So I called President Hurtado and asked him if he could meet me on Martin Luther King Day at 1 o'clock. I was not going to go to the meeting that had been canceled with the lawyers. And, I'd like to have his side of the story. So I went we met at Panera on Route 59 in Cape Farm Road at 1 o'clock. I had told Garrett Peck to put together a resignation letter for President Hurtado. And this way, I know for sure whether he really meant what he had said the day before. If he did not, I had to prepare for what I needed to do. I talked with President Hurtado, and he told me basically that he had done nothing wrong. He admitted that the LED lights that Solis was going to sell us were actually his. Now, legally, if Solis is a legal vendor, a person can sell to that vendor, and that vendor could sell to the park district, and it would not be illegal. However, we could not find any company by the name of Solis. It was the only place we found it was on a Facebook page as the name of a 22-year-old boyfriend of Mr. Hurtado's daughter. At this point in time, bear in mind, at this point in time, there is no proof that it is not. But the suspicion, just the way that everything fell into place, was highly inappropriate. And I told him, especially once I knew from his mouth to me that the LED lights were actually his, I was absolutely furious. I said, you have to resign. And at first he said he would, and then he changed his mind. He says, I'm not going to. He says, you can take me to the state's attorney. I don't care. He says, this is a setup, and he walked out. By the way, I know there are a lot of people that have thought a lot of things about me. But as I told Garrett Peck last week, one thing I said, I feel like I've been fed the information I need to provide the vote in the direction that was wanted. His reply to me was, yeah, you're probably right. So the timeline for after Martin Luther King Day was Wednesday night. We were supposed to have a meeting, which is a point where I could resign if I wanted to, whatever. But Wednesday night didn't come. And on Thursday, Garrett Peck did resign. I did not find out from Garrett Peck. No board member called me. Park District didn't let me know. I found out from a friend who was listening to WJO on the radio. And then Friday night, we had the meeting. And so many of you who were here Friday night, you couldn't possibly know what shock I was in. So over the weekend, I had to make a decision on what do I do. Many of you may have thought the utter worst of me, that I was part of whatever. I voted as I thought from the very beginning. I came in here wanting to do good. And as far as I'm concerned, all that has transpired makes a mockery of that. And we could not talk about it in closed session, and I felt it was my duty to let the board members know. I talked with, on Monday, I came in to the Park District because I knew what I had to do. And that was to call a special session, and that would, for anybody else than the president, that takes 2 commissioners. So Mary Ludeman came over, and then I went through the chain of events that occurred with her. And that is where we've gotten to. I did not want to bring this up. I did not want this to go like this. And some people sitting out here might be, woohoo, whippy, we got it now. I don't feel that way. I feel very sad.
It is sad.
And what I'm asking for is, at this point in time, all I have done is tell you the facts, the timeline, the meetings. Commissioner Steinmetz, did you want to add anything to that?
I believe you got it all covered.
So, it's not just a he said, she said, he said. These are actual people that were involved. I commend Commissioner Steinmetz for doing his part, for Doug Booth, who knew what the right thing was to do, but was scared for his job. And I hope that you will give the benefit of the doubt to, number one, to Doug Booth for doing the right thing and bringing it to my attention. Quite frankly, sometimes I wish now that I'd never stepped into his office because of the chain of events. But sometimes Providence puts good people in the right place at the right time, so that, as it is said, there's nothing covered that shall not be revealed. I know there's so many people so angry about this, wants to do this and do that. Please keep in your prayers and your thoughts the Park District personnel. They're really good people. And if I did not have to have said this publicly, I wouldn't, but I couldn't say it in closed session so that it could be dealt with privately. Hopefully, I have nothing else that I can add to that, but I want the Park District to go forward and do well. And hope I have your support, because this has been a rough haul. Thank you very much, everyone.
Those are very serious allegations, Commissioner Salansky, and I think we need to call for an investigation of this. Having said that, I hope you do have all your stories straight. I heard some things you just said, which are not true, but I'm not going to get into this position at this time. I think what I'd like to do, Matt, can we contact the state attorney to investigate all these issues, these allegations?
We can, I don't know if it rises to the level of crime, we can certainly contact them about it, sure.
Let's get in touch with the Attorney General and try to get these allegations taken care of.
Did you file a statement of economic interest?
Yes, sir.
Did you disclose his business?
Yes, sir.
So on your statement of economic interest, you have solely whatever lighting company?
I don't work for them. That's not my company.
So are you gonna resign?
All right.
Are you gonna resign?
As of this time, any other questions?
Yeah, are you gonna resign?
All right, so do we have a motion to?
There's a question back here. There's a question back here.
We're not going to answer questions. The public
We should allow
comments,
public comment.
the public comments portion, you passed.
Are you going to resign? Here, I say it in
This is
sign
a
language.
hard question.
Let me
It's
tell
not
you-
easy.
Not that difficult to answer.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'm making a motion
How
to,
much was the invoice?
Yeah, how much money are you talking about with these lighting?
You should
well,
let people
motion to.
That should be factual.
comment again, because this is something that wasn't on the agenda. Nobody knew about this to talk about it in public
Do I have a
comment.
second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, under freedom of information, how much was the
Steinitz.
invoice?
Sarah Jo.
Yes.
Ludeman. Newton. Solosky. Hurtado.
Yes.
Whedon, Sturbridge.
Resign, Peter. It's time. It's time for you to go.
So I don't have to resign.
They haven't been transparent either.